City. Miss Brenda Anderson, you're up.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Just like she said, my name is Brenda Anderson, and I'm the City of Newark Recycling Coordinator. Okay? Now, 1987, Governor Kane passed a law stating that we had to recycle 3 items out of the waste stream. And those 3 items is your cans, glass, and paper. You cannot throw none of these items in the garbage by law. Okay? This has been going on since 32 years now. And it seems like y'all can't get it right. I don't understand. What's the problem?
You're trying.
Yeah, trying 32 years, really? Come on. We got to do better than this. We got to recycle right. Okay, because it saves our environment, and we cannot be throwing these stuff in the garbage. I know that there are some people who do it, and then there's some people who don't, but we need to reach out to ones that don't to let them know that we have to recycle. Now, I was just speaking with Andrea about code enforcement. I am pushing for code enforcement for recycling, so this way they can go out, open up your garbage, take a picture of all the recyclables in the garbage and give you a ticket. Because it seems like that's the only way you guys are going to do it, unless you get a fine. Yes.
I'll wait for Q&A.
I don't know how you would get
No, I said Q&A.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years, but it stopped the past 5-6 years. They're not focusing on recycling, they're focusing on all the other stuff. But I'm getting ready to push for these 3 people just for recycling only. Because we need to get the people to do it right. Okay? Now, like that she was talking to you about the plastic bags. What's happening now, it's not just Newark, the state getting ready to ban plastic bags altogether. I mean the clear bags, the blue bags, the green bags, the yellow bags, the red bags. No plastic bags for recycling. Now you can use plastic bags for garbage, no problem. But no plastic bags for recycling. Now if you have a blue can, does everyone have a blue can?
Yes.
Yes? Everyone should have a blue can. If you have a blue can, your blue can is supposed to be your cans, bottles, and glass placed in the blue can. Your papers now could be placed in the blue can or tied up into either or, or you can put it in the leaf bag, the brown bags. You know the leaf bags, you can put your paper in the brown bags. Okay, but it cannot be in plastic bags. Right now, the city is getting ready to do an ordinance to a point where it's going to start by 2020. So I'm letting you guys know now. So going forward, so when 2020 comes, you'll be like, well, I ain't know nothing about this. Where all this stuff come from? I'm letting you know now, it's coming. And it's not just Newark, it's going to be the state of New Jersey. New York already done it, Jersey City already done it, so we're on our way.
When you say ban plastic bags, is it the corner store plastic bags?
Yes, the corner store plastic bags, the ShopRite bags, that's gonna be banned as well.
But
Okay?
not the plastic bags of the food rounds in stores.
Well, say for instance, if you go into ShopRite and they give you the plastic bags when you go to the deli to get your meat and fish and all that, that's not banned. No, that's not banned. Anything dealing with food, that stays. We're just talking about carrying out. That's why we're pushing everyone to get carry out bags. This way, reusable bags. Okay? So this way, you don't have to use the plastic. Because what you're doing, you're taking the plastic from the ShopRite or the supermarket, you go home, and what you do? Take it and put it in the garbage. No, we can't do that no more. Okay? Now, the thing with the mom and pop stores, the bodega stores, you go into the store, you ask for a soda. They put it in a little black bag. And then you get out the store and you throw the bag on the ground. What's the point? What is the point? No, you shouldn't. Yes, because we gotta keep our city clean. That's another thing. We gotta keep our city clean and litter free. We cannot be throwing stuff on the ground. All right? And another thing with the, because I am the clean community coordinator as well, And it bothers me that when I'm riding around and I'm seeing all this trash all over the place. But let me say this to you. If you go to Livingston, do you see the streets look like that? No. Why? What is we doing different than they are? Okay? If you go to Montclair, when you go through their streets, you don't see stuff all over the ground. But if you come to Newark, you see it. You come to Irvington, you see it. You come to East Orange, you see it. That should not be. We need, I know it's minority of people, do certain things, not just in the you can't.
I know that we're speaking about, you're speaking to residents. Are you guys interacting or putting ordinances and policies in place for the businesses?
Yes.
Because
yes, they are.
Specifically, South Orange Avenue between South 12th Street and South 10th Street, where the building was caught on fire.
Yes.
That particular corridor,
right now,
it is
bad.
so trashy. It's ridiculous. It's like you literally coming into the heart of the West Ward in that particular area, and it's just so nasty. And it's like trash on like the sidewalks, and I think that the businesses should be more responsible.
And they do have an ordinance. They're supposed to clean in front of your in front of your store.
But they're not doing it. And
no,
so
what they're doing is they're pushing it in the street. You're supposed to pick it up, put it in a bag, and put it out for garbage. But you're putting it in the street. The same thing with the leaves. You're sweeping it in the street. That's not helping it. The street sweeping can't come down and pick up the leaves. It's too much. All the store owners are supposed to do that. And you're right. They're supposed to be code enforcement. They're supposed to get a ticket. But once you get a ticket, you do it. Because you don't want to get a ticket because you don't want to pay for it. So that's the reason why we need code enforcement really, really bad. Now with the cleaning, you can call sanitation, put in a request to have that particular area clean. We do have guys that go out and clean up the streets, clean up the empty lots and all that stuff. We do that. Okay.
This is not empty lots. These are business owners.
Right. So that's when code enforcement needs to get involved.
That can be responsible for, just cleaning up their particular storefront. Right. And everyone should be responsible.
Exactly.
And
now, by you saying that, there is an ordinance about keeping your city clean. There is an ordinance already done. Keep it clean.
Ms. Brenda, when is the plastic bag ban supposed to go into?
Okay, right now the law department is putting it all together. The council did vote on it, but they got to re-vote it, so it takes some time. They need to revamp it, add this, take away that, so that's what they're doing right now. So I know by 2020, it's going to be out there. It's going to be out there.
And can I just make one comment?
Yes.
Right now, we're talking about banning plastic bags. If you do have other concerns, please let's speak about that later. But let's just stay focused on the topic that we're speaking on.
Okay.
We're
Right.
talking about recycling and living.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, is there a fee?
Fee for what?
A fee for plastic bags? Sometimes
Now, we were talking about that with the lawyer and their municipal council. They kind of don't want to tell the store owners that you got to charge 10 cents or 5 cents. Why do that? But that's what you're going to have to do.
Are they looking at any models, best practices?
Let's wait till the law department has a presentation
Yeah.
specifically on plastic bags. Ms. Brenda's here specifically about recycling and why it's important to recycle or to recycle.
Now, anybody have any questions about recycling?
So what are we supposed to do with plastic bags? Once they start, I'm just saying.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
So we haven't done it.
No, we're not there yet. Not there. But it's coming.
Okay.
It's coming down the line. Now, do everyone have your leaves? If you have your own business or homes, leaves, we do give out leaf bags to residents. You come down to 62 Freedom Housing Avenue, which show proof of address, and I give you 3 packs of bags. And it's 5 per pack, so it's 15 bags. Okay? So we do provide leaf bags for residents.
I was wondering, we have like a big number of residents here. For the folks who recycle, bravo, but for those who find it challenging to recycle, what would help? Right? Like,
Well, okay, what's the
part
cha-
of it is there's a stick that's like code enforcement writing a ticket, but what's an incentive? Like, I'm wondering from the people, not necessarily, I'm not asking friends, I know you recycle, but like what would help to make people recycle? What do you think would be like a good incentive? If we're gonna have like a citywide
The
campaign.
only thing right now with the city, with residents and everything about recycling is a fine. You can tell them it helps the environment, you know, it helps not cutting down trees to make paper. We can go through the whole process. But in their mind, they not thinking like that.
Why would you not?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people
There's
don't.
lots of people who don't.
They don't. That's the thing. We don't understand. Well, you tell them,
Well,
but
I
the
think,
incentive.
I think it has to be education, it
Right.
has to be,
Yeah, this is what I was gonna suggest. It's a process, but the schools are teaching children about recycling. So
And plus
it's
I go
like
to
a
schools and talk about
reinforcement in the home. It's a learning process because you get mixed messages, because every community doesn't do it the same way. But it's a genuine effort on the part of the household, from a household perspective. But from a renter's perspective,
Yeah.
it becomes the responsibility of the landlord, the homeowner.
Homeowners to make sure that.
And they can't make sure because they don't have any right to dictate as to what they should do. The only thing, in my neighborhood, I try to pass literature out about recycling, but it's on the responsibility of the maintenance of a multi-dwelling home. So it's the responsibility of the homeowner and the landlord to just keep reinforcing it. Like my grandson, he's gradually getting it because I keep reinforcing it. So now I have to go back and tell him he can't put his milk containers or any containers in the white bag and toss it into the blue bin. So, and sometimes it gets so filled up. And, but you just have to keep repeating it and understanding your part in this whole sustainability for the universe.
Do you work for an organization?
Do I work?
Yeah, or you're just doing it because you care about the city?
Then that's basically, I'm trying to make myself more responsible, you know,
Right,
as
there
a
you
citizen.
More people should.
Right.
Feel that way, yeah.
Well, I guess that's part of the problem, right?
Right.
Because you're talking about sort of educating your grandson, and that's excellent because, you know, that's home training, right?
Right, it's home training, and plus we gotta start
But
young.
as Brenda mentioned, this law has been in place
For 32 years.
And so we have generations of people who know that they should be recycling and yet are not. So how do you incentivize and get people to feel that self-pride, to feel the ownership, that this is important to me and I'm gonna take the responsibility? That's the question.
The question, my suggestion is to talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Talk about it to your neighbors. Talk about and be proactive
Yes.
in front of your house. Be proactive
So let the,
on
see
your
that
block.
the neighbor is doing it, so let me do it too.
And I don't think you have to be in an organization to put up signs that please clean up your dog poop or please don't
There
leave
you
your
go.
bags here. So for me, I took it as a block activity, but now I'm beginning to be the block. But I'm not giving up. But I started in my home first, and a lot of resistance, you know, we still, but it's an effort that's going, progress doesn't have to be captured in a time frame. So we're moving forward, and Brenda's doing an excellent job.
Oh, thank you so much.
yes, Ms.
Thank
Brenda,
you
you
so much.
are appreciated. We know you need more help though.
Yeah, I know. Definitely need more help.
Also, can I just add to that too?
Yes.
And also training, just like, just to piggyback off of Ms. Pat. Also too, we had one of the town hall meetings last night at Marion High School. And they have the recyclable garbage cans in the school.
In the school.
They had the box, it was in the paper, separated in a totally different stack.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a reminder, you know, it's a teachable moment, it's an educational moment, but it has to be constantly reinforced.
Yeah.
It's a topic. It may not be a sexy topic or a very interesting topic, but it's a topic, it's in the ordinances, it's stuff that we have to follow. That's
Well,
correct.
and to your point, Lavita, you're right. It is happening, but it needs to happen for me, you know, in a whole bigger spectrum. Because, for instance, the kids when they go inside the schools, they're being taught you know, recycle and all those stuff. But when they're walking to school, you still have trash out from 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock last night. And we're now, you know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon and trash is still out and has not been picked up. Now, you know, granted, you know, with the various contracts, you know, bureaucracy that the public works is going through, you know, the fact that, you know, just managing and just trying to figure out like scheduling and all that stuff, that's understood, but at the end of the day, our kids are walking to school looking at filthiness. And so how do we
sometimes they might think
encourage,
that's
or how
okay.
do we build up that sense of community pride when they're walking to school with trash all over the place? And then, you know, then they're like, so how is it like being reinforced from every, you know what I'm saying, every avenue, every aspect, every touch and go, how can we reinforce that, you know, it's important to have, you know, community pride, it's important to have street pride, you know, in a sense. And really, let's beautify our city because it causes rodents, movie litter, it causes asthma. And I don't know if you guys look on your app, you know, your weather report app. Right now, it says unhealthy air for the city of Newark. But when you go to other, like, you know, when I stroll through like other cities, you know, it's, you know, and to me, it's alarming. It's alarming that we are breathing like we have air quality control as reported in our weather report. So, I mean, not to, you know, be nagging or complaining, but I just want us to think from a bigger perspective. How do we get city community members, as well as, you know, our schools, everybody needs to come to the table and figure out how we can clean our city up.
I like to build upon it. That's how they teach you in school. I like to build upon her. That's how they teach you in school in conversation. I think it starts at home. If you can start talking about it at home, then demonstrating in your home what your responsibility is as a member of the home, and once you leave the house, your responsibility as a member of the community. No one has to put pressure on the city, should they, to clean in front of
your
where
own
you
property.
live.
That is so
And I
true.
think that's part of the problem because we look to the city,
To do everything, exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And so when we look at the city, we say, okay, the city needs to plan
They'll do it.
for cleaning up, and then at the same time, we're like, we recognize, I think everybody recognizes that if you throw a Kit Kat wrapper on the street, you don't have no home training, right? Like, so there's something wrong.
That's true. You're not
If you put that in that, put that in your pocket, and
That's
you
true.
know,
That's true.
the garbage can. And so that when there's that disconnect, we can't dictate to people, oh, you need to teach your children, oh, you should know better. You know, those aren't things that the city
That's not
can say.
it.
And so
True.
what is the thing that the city can say? What is the thing that the city can do to help people to get that message? That's part of the problem, right? We do want the city to do something, but we also know that, you know, just throwing tickets at the problem isn't going to solve it. What the problem really is proper training and etiquette and self-pride and self-love for your city that can only come from the home. So there has to be something, some intervention the city can do that can help that, right? How can we help people in that regard?
Ms. Brenda,
Wonder how we can
do
go
you to
through.
the schools
Yes,
at
I do.
all? Yes, is it taught throughout the schools, like, part of the curriculum, like?
See, that's another thing. It's not a curriculum
Students-
in the school.
students are-
It's not one
students are
teacher
learners.
staying down to teach the kids this about the environment, recycling, keeping your city clean. That's not in the program of the curriculum. No, I'll go in and talk to them about recycling and everything I just stated to them. But some will take it home. Saw mommy throw it. Mommy, you can't do that. You gotta put that can in the recycling bin. You know, they the one gonna teach the parents. But the thing is that who's gonna teach the kids?
Because I know that, remember when was it the last meeting that we had at IYO, and Ms. Wallace mentioned that she teaches the kids.
Okay.
So are there certain organizations that have different programs that teach?
That I
kids
don't
about
know.
recycling?
I only know what I do.
Because I don't know if you
I don't
remember a
know.
long time ago, the whole campaign they had in New York, give a hoot, don't pollute.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Right? We're not in Texas.
I just remember reduce, reuse, recycle.
Reduce,
I learned
reuse.
that in
High school.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's when I
cool.
actually started recycling big campaign that we were doing. But as far as the incentive is concerned, I think it's one thing to show the children or teach it from the ground up, but it's the adults that
It's the
are
adults. There you go.
so we do certain, a couple of nonprofits offer those incentives where, small mini block grants and things like
Yeah,
that.
I was just getting ready to say.
But
Mini
the
block
thing
grants.
about that is it's hard to just do a widespread campaign, let everybody know, hey, we all complain about it, because even the litterers complain about the litter.
I know.
And then they're gonna say, oh, I'm giving somebody a job.
Yeah. That's another thing. That's another thing. Yes. That's another thing.
I've heard that more often than
I'm
not.
giving them a job.
But
That's what
I
they told me to do.
So I'm
Pick up after you.
In a perfect world, I wish it was just one day that everybody could just clean up so it'll be clean. And then we
That
just
might be a good
maintain it
idea.
from there.
That might be a good idea.
And maybe the incentive would be,
Who's the cleanest board, or I don't know who's the cleanest
people don't really
neighborhood.
buy it. Some people buy into the neighborhood, but I'm just thinking it has to be something on rent taxes, like it has to be something
I know,
big in
we
order
did the
for-
greenest block competition, we had like a small mini, recycling program happening over the summer, in partnership with Ms. Brenda, so there are agencies that are out doing it, I don't know how.
It needs to be done in every
Maybe
ward.
a foundation. This was like in my brain like 2 months ago. Maybe there's a foundation that has some money. Well, all foundations have money, but that is willing to fund if like this whole one day of cleanup.
It can be.
If you like for every bag you get 50 cents or something, and that would. Because money drives people
But to do stuff, that's right.
It's unfortunate, but it could work.
It does. As a person who's lived around the corner on Mountain View Place for 35 years, and I can see the difference in the 35 years since I've been there. It's unfortunate that any agency, any foundation, anything should have to tell you to clean up where you live. No one should have to tell you to clean up where you live.
That's true.
So I find that on my small little one-way block of people who have been here for the longest period of time, there's no problem with that. They know they recycle. It's not because of the law. It's simply because
they
this
want
is
to,
what they
right.
do.
Right.
And of course, for many of us who've been here for long periods of time, we're still here. We haven't moved, and we're concerned about our homes. Whereas sometimes you have people, and I'm glad some people who were living there because they rented out their house to whoever.
Yes.
And so then they rented it out, and then they sectioned it off, and then people came and went. These were the people you had to continuously tell, excuse me,
Yeah,
but we as the block, the people on the block,
Keep
had
us
to tell
clean,
them,
yes.
no agency, no foundation, we're not having that here. We are not having that here, and I continuously, even though I keep up in front of my house, continuously when the kids walk past, and I know kids gonna be kids, okay? But when they walk past on their way to school, when I see them, because I'm not having it, I'm not. I'm not having it. An organization, I'm not having it.
That's another issue I've seen is that the owner, there's a problem with ownership, right? And so it's my house, it's my street,
That's
it's my
right.
block, so I take care of it, there's a pride
But
there.
when they
That's
rent
right.
it,
And it's very common in a single family neighborhood because there's a lot of owners in those single family neighborhoods,
Right.
single family home neighborhoods. When you go to the multi-family homes, to apartments, there's not that sense of ownership. It's somebody else's problem. Somebody will clean it
Oh, they'll
up.
do it, yeah.
You know, somebody will do it. They got a custodian. I'm giving somebody a job that they
And
they
so-
pay.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder what kind of house do you have inside of your home?
There you go.
I mean, how do you keep your home if you allow for this type of stuff? Whether you live in a multiple
You know what, if we
dwelling,
do,
you live in one room or two rooms, how do you keep your home that you allow any kind of garbage to be
But
anywhere?
that's what I'm saying. Even
I
inside
don't
that
understand
home,
that.
they don't
I don't get
consider
it.
it their ownership, so they don't take good care of the home inside.
okay, I'm gonna,
Could I just make one more
Yes.
suggestion? When we didn't have garbage cans, receptacles on the corners, you saw a lot. If you look at those receptacles, they are overflowing. So someone, kid or adult, they aren't taking the initiative to put it in. So to pick up their trash. So it's not like they're not using it. So
being
maybe we
used,
could talk
yeah.
about getting more receptacles in areas that have problems.
That is
Maybe,
true.
Picked up
and-
more often.
and yeah, that's it. But,
But the
I'm so
only thing
glad.
that they
I
put-
remember when we didn't have any cans, and now I'm so impressed that the cans are overflowing. So now the city comes in, change their schedule, and dump those more often. At the same time, making those merchants responsible for having those cans picked up. So we may want to talk about putting receptacles in the neighborhood. So people on my block, some of them are not going to carry their packages into their house. No, not necessarily my block, but any block. So there has to be a reason for them to want to discard their trash properly. So if you don't have any cans, what are they going to do? They're going to toss it in an abandoned building. So the city may want to talk about putting receptacles in the neighborhoods.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm gonna tell you this. All the recycling, all the litter baskets in the city are placed at bus stops only. Because this way it could be chained, because they steal it. I cannot go out here and put a garbage can right there. I cannot go right there and put a garbage can right there. Tomorrow, it'll be gone.
Yeah, they
That's
still
the
are
reason,
recycling bin.
that's the reason why we only place them at bus stops only, because it could be chained down. Now it's getting to the point they're cutting the chain and taking the can. And those litter baskets are very expensive, they are not cheap. So they're not gonna place them all over like we all would like to have, because it will be gone. The only thing I can see, I know with South Orange Avenue, where it's mounted to the ground.
Yeah,
But the thing is that they're taking the inside.
yeah, I saw that.
And then you're putting the garbage in there, so how are people supposed to empty it?
Right.
So that means they gotta take
And I've
it.
seen people also near a receptacle, and they decide to throw the garbage
On the ground.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
So it's
So
also
it's
education.
it's like this. We would love to
It's
do
a
that, but the
multi-pronged
thing is that it'll get stolen. It'll get stolen. And my thing, what I wanna do and I'm pushing for is to put recycling containers on the street, next to the garbage can. But I want the ones where it's mounted to the ground. I don't want the wired ones, because it's gonna be gone. Now, can you imagine you got a wired container with a whole bunch of cans in there? You got boo-boo out there saying, oh, wow, that's some money. Oh, wow, you know what, let me get that. You know, so it's a win-win. Now, like you guys were talking about, we do have mini grants for blocks. If you have a block association, you can apply for a mini grant, and then we'll give it to you, okay? And here's some information about recycling, what you can recycle, and what you shouldn't do, okay? That's the end of my presentation. I know that we're ready to go.
Ms. Brenda, thank you so much.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
When you recycle, you put it out, it turns into something else.
Yes.
This pen made out of cardboard. So when you put your paper and cardboard out for recycling, it turns into something else. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Okay? Now, these pens are made out of, you know, the water bottle situation we're going through. Please recycle your water bottles. Okay? Do not throw it in the garbage. These pens are made out of water bottles. Okay? And these pencils here are made out of paper. You can see the newsprint. Okay? And this pad right here is made out of cardboard. And the paper is made out of recycled paper. Okay? So when you recycle your materials, it turns into something else. Okay? We have to recycle right. Are you with me?
Yes.
All right.
Great. The next person we're gonna have to come up is Maura Toomey. Maura?
Hi.
Hello.
I'm here, I work for Clean Water Action, and I'm her lady too. She's with Clean Water Action and
We can't hear you, you gotta speak
Yes,
up.
I was
Clean Water Action and with NJAC. So we're working on a campaign.
So, we're helping with passing ordinances on plastic bags and styrofoam in different towns in New Jersey and at the state level. So we've been working with Newark on that, but also we have a program that is kind of to focus on more preventing the waste before it becomes a litter problem or before you recycle it. So it's working more on the with businesses, since a lot of the street litter comes from food and beverage packaging. That's what most of it comes from. There's not a whole lot we can do just yet about how candies and chips and things are packaged, but when it comes to how businesses serve their food, there's a lot of things that businesses can do that will prevent some of that stuff from being thrown out, so they can use reusables instead. And so one of our programs is to help businesses. We make some recommendations and provide free technical assistance for food businesses to make some of those changes. And then it also ends up helping them save money too, so it's supposed to be like a good way to bring that message of reuse and zero waste into the community. And then when customers come in, it's also an educating moment when they see businesses in their neighborhood using those practices. So that's one thing that we're working on in Newark and North Jersey area, in addition to working on the plastic bag and styrofoam ban. So I'm here if you have any questions about any of that, or if you know anyone who might be interested in doing more, if you know business owners who want to be able to do something but don't know what they can actually do to engage with that yet.
What would be an idea as a substitute for the plastic that they're putting the trays?
Yeah, so actually, I have some flyers of some of the examples that we recommend, and it depends on, it really depends on what their practices already are. So there can be a lot of different options, but so a lot of it, if they have a dishwasher, that's ideal, because then they can purchase some reusable and durable things and then wash them, and then it ends up saving them a lot of money because they don't have to continually buy the disposable styrofoam or paper ones. They can just reuse the same ones, and they end up seeing a lot of cost savings. But these are some of the other changes that we recommend for businesses. So it's like, oh yeah, sorry.
Could you just read it out?
Yeah. So one of the big ones you can do is, this one's really easy for restaurants that serve straws. If they just only give them out when a customer specifically asks for one, that tends to reduce straw use a lot, and it also makes customers just think twice before asking, and so it's an educating moment for the customers. But some restaurants that started doing that reduced their straw use by 90%, so it's basically eliminating straws just by a simple policy change in how they run their restaurant. Is, only give them out when someone specifically asks for one, and there really wasn't any pushback from customers on that kind of thing either. And you can do that with other disposable items like napkins or utensils, or if there's individually packaged like ketchups and things, instead of giving them out with every single order, which some restaurants do, only have them in the back, and then people will ask, oh, can I have one? And then it ends up reducing the number of items that people end up throwing out or taking away and then throwing out later or littering later. So it's kind of focusing on the reduce and the reuse part of the reduce, reuse, recycle. So those are some examples.
What about styrofoam? Because I know a lot of businesses here in the city of Newark uses styrofoam.
Yeah, so.
Well, she said the styrofoam and plastic ban. Is it two in the same?
So,
and where are you in the process?
For Newark, you're focusing mainly on the bags right now. Some other towns are adding in the styrofoam ban also. But Newark is just doing the bags right now. So. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I've seen the metal straws already.
Yeah, and then it also encourages people to. I see you.
just asked me.
Murray, thank you very much. So now we're gonna bring on Grayson Hannigan, who's representing the law department for the city of Newark. No, she's not speaking. Should this? Oh, you are gonna speak now? Okay, so excuse me, correction. We're gonna have Winnie to come up to say a few words. Can you please hold your questions or comments until the end? Let us get through this segment, and then you can ask all your questions, comments, and concerns at the end. We have 2 more people to speak on this particular topic. Winnie, come on up, please.
Thank you. Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Winifred Victor Hines, and I'm co-chair of the Environmental Commission. And we also have another commissioner right there, Nicole Miller. And I don't know if she's going to speak about CSOs later on. Are you going to? Okay. So this is going to be brief because Grayson is also going to talk about the plastic bags ban ordinance. So I'm on the board of New Jersey Clean Water Action, and Mara, we just spoke, she's one of the staff members, and I'm also with ANJEC, Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. And we're working on a campaign to ban plastic bags. So I did a presentation in front of the City Council a couple of weeks ago because the ordinance is in the works. So it wasn't in the first reading, I believe. So now we're doing this outreach. The city is doing this outreach to talk to community people and business owners about plastics bags ban. So we want to move eventually towards reusables. So when we're talking about the plastic bags, just think one person, okay, uses about 500 plastic bags a year. Now I'm sure you've seen the black plastic bags floating all over the city, right? I mean, I practically ran over one the other day driving, you know, and a few of them, you see them as decorations on the trees. And so, I mean, it's not a pretty sight at all.
It's not.
So we're trying to ban all those types of plastics, okay? Now, how many of you can tell me something like in your house that's not made of plastic, right? Can you think of right off the top of your head, right? So basically, plastics is everywhere. So the first plastic, right, that was invented is probably still around. And then they break down into what is known as microplastics. And microplastics are all over. So there, you know, you find microplastics in Antarctica, marine life, okay, in your brain, breast milk, all right? So the food, the fish that you're eating, meat, soil, everything, you know, microplastics. So it affects our health. So like Miss Brenda was talking about recycling, right? So in terms of recycling, like maybe 9% of them, you know, get recycled. So we have a lot of work to do. And I could go on for days about this. But basically, right, what we're trying to do is ban like the really thin plastic bags in the single-use plastic bags. Those are the ones you usually use once and then you throw it away, okay? So we're trying to get to thicker ones. Like for instance, they are measured, and you know, the thickness of the bags are measured in what is known as a mil. So a mil is 1,000th of an inch. So I don't know if you could see this, right? So a thin plastic bag, which is banned by most bans, is 5 mils, okay? And then you go up to like a dime, which is 53 mils. Thank you, Vanna. All right. Thank you. So you see, we don't want any of these, right? So we want the reusable ones, the one that you keep reusing over and over and over and over again. And then, so we modeled our ordinance after Jersey City's. And then it only talks about plastics, doesn't talk about styrofoam. Some cities have, you know, styrofoam bans, you know, and about, I guess, over 88 municipalities so far in New Jersey have a plastic bags ban ordinance. So what are we waiting for, okay? So Mr. Grayson, he's going to continue before, you know, because I could talk about this all night, but I won't. And so if you have any questions, please feel free afterwards to ask any of us, okay? Thank you.
Is that for me or for her? So, good evening, everyone. So, my name is Grayson Hannigan. I'm the Chief of Staff of the City of Newark Law Department. I'm here representing my boss, Kenyatta Stewart, who is the Corporation Counsel. Could not be here today. So, as Winifred said, and I also like when Winnie goes over some of the stats about. You can go over the stats about, for example, 500 billion. Not today. No, but it's actually interesting stuff, right? You know, there's the EPA estimates, and this is your stuff, right? There's 500 billion to a trillion plastic bags that are consumed worldwide each year. That's a lot. And the average use of one of those plastic bags is 12 minutes. 12 minutes in its lifetime. 12 minutes, right? New Jersey residents use 4.4 billion plastic bags each year. And we think about our environment, to make, just in the US alone, to make all of those plastic bags, or plastic in general, 12 million barrels of oil, 14 million trees to produce the plastic and paper bags we consume each year. Just stealing some of your facts, baby.
I left it for you.
No,
You
for
said
me.
So much better than I did.
No. So here in the city of Newark, as in municipalities all throughout the country and the 80 or so in the state of New Jersey, we are banning what's called single-use plastic bags. And the focus is on the retailers, whether it be liquor stores, pharmacies, you know, your retail stores, your shops on a corner, right? Those individuals, those retail stores cannot give their customers those single-use plastic bags, right? Because like many of you, and I'm guilty of it, I take them home and I use them in my bathroom garbage, right? And you know, you're like, give me some more, because you know you're gonna use them, right? But we don't want to do that, right? Because it's not good for the environment, and we're trying to clean it up, right? The plastic bags go down into our, and the CSO folks will talk about this later, goes down and blocks our sewers, and it's not good, right? So, again, we're focusing on the retailers, right? But we don't ban every single bag.
Every single plastic
Every
bag?
single plastic bag, right? Again, Winnie spoke about the mills, right? So as long as you meet a certain mill, and again, we're trying to adjust ours. Right now we're at 2.5 mills, and we're just looking to see what's the, you know, do we want to stay there? Do we want to go up, right? Because I think Jersey City has 2.5 mills, right, in the thickness of the plastic bags. And I actually spoke to a retail store owner. He said he orders his bags at 4 mills because he wants to go over, right? So he supplies thicker plastic bags that are reusable for multiple times, and that's what we want to encourage. Now, eventually, we want to stop the use of all plastic bags, but you know, we're starting with the ones that are not reusable. You get one time, and that's it, right? So the bags that we don't ban, because you go into the store, you go into your ShopRite or your Pathmark, and you go in there and you want to put your fruits in some bags. You know those plastic bags you put your fruits in? Can't ban those, right? Because you need those, right? You also need to put your fish and your chicken and so forth in. Well,
you know,
we're taking baby steps, right? So you're probably right going down the road, and we'll figure out how we can come up with ways to allow customers to get those items to the cash register safely. But for now, we're not banning those bags, right? Laundry or cleaning bags we're not banning. Newspaper bags we're not banning. Bags used, again, to put frozen items in, we're not banning. Bags sold to use as garbage bags, pet waste, yard waste bags, we're not banning those. Again, we're taking incremental baby steps, right? So eventually we want to see no bags at all, right? The ordinance, again, requires the retail establishments to offer reusable bags, and I think we're going to hold up some of them later on, right? Reusable bags or recyclable paper bags. So some of the reusable bags are,
I got a whole bunch of those.
so these are the type. So these are the type of bags, and they're banning plastic bags all over the world, right? So if they can do it, we can do it, right? All right. So
bag full.
right. So
Oh, your collection, extra collection.
It's my personal collection.
so we're encouraging these retail stores to either buy those, either give them away. Most of them are going to sell them for 50 cents, 75 cents. But the good thing is that instead of charging you 10 cents or 5 cents for the plastic bags that we're trying to ban, right? We're encouraging them to sell you those, or for you to buy those somewhere else and use those, because ultimately you're going to save money in the long run, right? So the ordinance, what it does, because we don't want to be fearful, because some people ask, well, are we going to be arrested if we're walking down the street with our plastic bag? No, you're not, right? We want to train people and educate people not to even use them, right, or not to even take them from the retail establishment. But the ordinance is focused on the retail establishments for them to stop giving them out, right? So they're the ones who would be punished, right? Not you who go to the store and use these bags. So the other thing is that other than there's a fine that's there, you know, $250 for the first offense, or at a minimum $250, up to $1,000 fine, right? And each day's violation, let's say a storekeeper has them in their establishment, right? Each day's violation that we know about is a fine, is a violation. So you can get a ticket. So code enforcement is going to be going around spot checking folks, right, to see who has these bags in. So in an effort to be fair to both the retail shopkeepers, the liquor stores, and so forth and so on, right, and also the residents, right, is there's going to be a 6-month rollout, right? So the ordinance is not going to be in effect until 6 months have passed. So it gives the city enough time to educate the retail establishments, and it also gives us more time to educate the residents, right, for them to be more mindful and more environmental conscious about the use of, at least the use of these plastic bags. So any questions? That's it. It was quick.
Yeah, we have
Uh-oh.
questions. We can ask questions to you now, or we have to wait till the other speaker.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so those of us who are anxious to get this ball rolling,
Right.
and we got thousands of yellow bags. In suburban areas, they've had those collection bins for years, plastic bags. What is the city going to do to support our efforts to try to start the process of getting those yellow bags out of our house?
Well, the city, again, the ordinance is, again, it's in the process, right?
Right.
So in terms of the 6-month implementation, we're gonna be thinking of those ideas and making those plans for you to willingly get rid of your garbage bags.
So
You
right
can-
now, we just wait until everything is fine. We can still use our yellow bags.
Right. I mean, again,
You don't have to.
you don't have to use it.
Well,
You know,
I'm making an effort, so I think the city should speed up the pace. I mean, you got a lot of people want to get rid of those bags. We want to start, participating in the process. So now you're putting us on hold. So in a minute,
Your bags that you're getting from like the grocery store,
yes.
you're supposed to take them back. I'm Kim Green, I'm with
Oh.
the Department of Public Works.
Oh, okay.
How are you?
Good.
But the yellow bags or the bags that you buy from a grocery store, they're supposed to have a way that you can recycle and take them back. They should have bins in the store, in the vestibule of the stores. So
I have not seen a bin in Newark for collecting.
returning your
Right.
bags.
I'm talking about Newark.
Okay. Every store is supposed to have that available to recycle them that way.
You're talking about something provided by the city on the
Yes.
street, like a
I
garden,
mean,
right?
I'm a resident of Newark.
Mhm.
We're starting this, I'm participating. Don't expect me to take my 5,000 bags, yellow bags, to South Orange and put in their recycle bin.
No, I hear you. Again,
I'm pretty sure.
But ShopRite,
Right.
if they don't, should really get one, cause like ShopRite.
right. But again, to answer, speaking for the city, again, that's gonna be part of rollout, right? So that's, we're not there yet, but we're gonna get there.
I would tell you, I've been in and out of ShopRite, I can't swear that they have that.
They do.
They do.
Okay, so
They do.
people have seen it, so it's available to you?
Which shop?
That's it.
The one that's down here.
The one where?
I guess
Springfield,
the one on
Springfield Avenue?
Springfield, yeah.
Springfield Avenue.
The new shop, right?
Right, that's it.
Located in
I don't know. That's,
No,
that's what they're saying.
Any other question? Any other question?
Yeah, I have a
Yes.
question in terms of the rollout. So what does the rollout, what would it look like? What are the marketing outreach, and what groups you're gonna be working with to look at best practices of how, it should be implemented out? Is there gonna be a big marketing push for businesses and particularly to, ban that? And just what, cause I know cause ordinance, it's a whole bunch of ordinance,
Right.
it's not enforced. And so how do we ensure that this 6 months process is intense? Because it's clear that we want to, not only ban plastic bags, but just overall, just clean up the city and just have that conversation, with both businesses, owners who typically does not live in Newark.
Right.
And that's another conversation, but what does that rollout look like? Are you guys gonna be connecting with other community-based, organizations to help with that process? I just wanted to, cause
Right.
it's always a rollout, it's always
Do-
but it's,
You wanna answer that, or you have another question? Okay, all right, so you're next. So let me answer this. So, one of the good things, right, is that when you propose an ordinance, we have 9 council members, they have to go through it, they have to add things, they have to take things out, and so forth and so on, right? So the ordinance is not complete, right? It's getting there, right? So, again, the ordinance is gonna inform the rollout plan, right? But you sitting there, I know you probably can think of 10 things off the top of your head that you would do to roll out, right? And we're thinking of all of those things too. You mentioned a lot of them. Meeting with community organizations, right? Having a big educational plan, a big rollout public information plan. All of that stuff is involved in the rollout, right? Training code enforcement to make sure that they know what to look for, right? Sorry?
hiring code enforcement,
No. That's actually happening. That's actually happening right now, right? They're hiring some because, and one of the reasons that they're hiring more code enforcement because there's another ordinance that actually is getting ready to be passed that's going to require a lot of code enforcement officers, right? The inspection of apartments, right? During on every new tenancy, because we're concerned about individual safety, right? And the renting of adequate habitable apartments, right? So the city is going to require that upon the change of occupancy, any new tenancy, that the landlord has to inspect that apartment, right? So right. So that ordinance is in the works. So we're going to need more code enforcement officers, right? Any other questions? You're next. Did I answer your question? I guess so. Okay.
From the mindset of do it yourself. That being said, if we're going to get rid of the plastic, which is a good idea, done it everywhere, is there anything that Newark is going to do to roll out something where I or me and Brother Richard can whip out a sewing machine, make our own bags, and provide them to the businesses?
No, that's entrepreneurs.
I'm just saying, I was joking a little humorously here.
Richard, you feel like I ain't selling nothing.
It's an opportunity,
Right.
one, to educate if we had something where it had Newark on it, recycles, and then it was made very cheaply, and then do it.
Sir, we're way ahead of you, right?
You got something in the works?
No, we're way ahead of you because that's part of the plan, right? For example, Jersey City put over 40, close to 100,000, I think, at least $40,000. I don't want to misquote, right? Into at least $40,000 into producing, right, those type of bags with either the city logo and so forth and so on, and we're not going to give them out to the retail establishments. No. We're more than likely gonna, listen. Don't sign me up, right? I don't speak for the administration like that, but I'm saying it is in the works that we're thinking about that idea, which is to give them out to seniors and so forth, right? So we're gonna do that, but I think that we want to make sure that the retail establishments, right, be responsible enough to either order their own with their own logos, right? For advertising for themselves. This is going to benefit them, right? And the city will advertise on our stuff that we order to give away, and because we're going to have a program in place, so it's all going to work out. Any other questions? Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes and no, but yeah.
Yes and no?
Yeah.
I don't like no's, so I got to answer your question.
No, I just wanted to just make sure that, with this project, that it's really collaborative. Because I'm a part of Newark DIG, Newark Infrastructure Green, and I'm sure that, the people that sits around that table could, work with your group to provide best practices and best modelings on how we roll it out, and just how you measure success and evaluation and measuring all that stuff. So,
well, as I said, all that stuff is going to go into the rollout plan. And Miss Andrea Mason, Miss Levita Johnson, they are they're the stars and the pros when it comes to this stuff, right? So, all right.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? No?
Great, thank you, Grayson. Also, too, one more part of recycling that we are doing. As Ms. Brenda mentioned, we talked about bottles, plastic bottles. We talked about paper. We talked about cardboard. Also, too, during the summer when the city was rolling out the plan to give out bottled water in the city, there's another initiative that's taking place by myself and another one of my colleagues. We're collecting the clear bottle caps to recycle. These are now making prosthetic limbs for those who want to live. So people who may be an amputee. We are collecting these bottle caps. You can bring them to City Hall, to our office of Newark People's Assembly, to room 315. So please help us with that initiative as well. We want to make sure that those people have another expansion on life, and they get to do some things that the doctor said different, but God said yes. So with that being said, we're going to shift the conversation now. We're going to talk about the CSO, Combined Sewer Overage. We're now going to bring up Lenny Robbins and Sabrina Ross.
Give me a second to move this to a better position.
And also Nicole Miller.
Hi, Mr. Lenny is getting that set up. I can give you a little bit of background. My name is Nicole Miller. I am a resident here in the city of Newark. Going back generations. I got generations in the city, generations to come, praise God. But I'm also a business owner here in the city. I'm the principal of M&M Consulting. I do strategic communications. I'm a member, as Ms. Winnie said, of the Newark Environmental Commission. I'm also the chair of the Green Team and also co-chair of Newark DIG, doing infrastructure green. And so I'm also a mom, and so these are very important considerations for me. And so when I'm talking about them, I'm not being paid to be here. I'm here as a labor of love, and it's important to me that we get it right, right? Like, I believe that the training starts in the home, but sometimes we got to share our knowledge. And so I want to make sure that we're sharing our knowledge about combined sewer overflows. And so it's looking good. It's like this weird black thing in the way. Hopefully it doesn't like cause a problem. Can everyone see that clearly? All right, so we have had a few meetings thanks to our collaboration with the Newark People's Assembly, and before that, about the combined sewer overflow process. Right now, Newark is entering their final year of the long-term control plan process. And so that is what we are coming to today to bring you an update on, okay? Our clicker isn't working, so Mr. Lenny's gonna help me out. And actually, I'm here giving the presentation, but the sponsor, the host of the actual sort of partnership are Mr. Lenny Robbins with the,
Urban League.
The Urban League. I want to say United Negro College Fund all the time. I don't know why.
That's all right. It's a good company.
I know, right? Good company to keep with the Urban League. And Ms. Sabrina Ross with the Unified Vailsburg Services Organization. And I am presenting on their behalf. So we're going to start with the CSO overflow. I'm going to use CSO, but it's combined sewer overflow is what that means. And an update on our solutions, and then what's going on next. Pardon me for having my hands in my pockets. I'm a little chilly. So, just our table's a little rickety. But going on to the next slide. So this is you can ignore the words. Some of you have already been in my CSO presentation. I have had, thank you, Ms. Winnie, but no. So you might have heard me talk about CSOs more than once, but bear with me if you have. A CSO is an event. It is a point in time. It's a thing that happens. And so what happens is, let me give you the dry weather scenario. In the dry weather scenario, in a combined sewer system, of which we are not here in the West Ward. The West Ward is a separated sewer system area, but many parts of Newark are combined sewer system, and we are one city, right? And so what happens in the Central Ward and the West, in the East Ward, happens in the West Ward and North Ward. We are one city, and so that's why we're talking about it here. In dry weather, that combined sewer, your toilet water, your sink water, you wash your clothes, take a shower, and if it goes into one pipe, into the sewer, and down into the water treatment facility, PVSC, which is down in the Ironbound. In wet weather, that same water goes into the same sewer that the rainwater goes into. And that's a problem because oftentimes it overflows the system. These systems are 100 years old. 100 years ago, we had much fewer people. We had much fewer toilets and sinks, much fewer showers, and much less paved surfaces. So there was a lot more grass, a lot more dirt paths, etc. And so now we have paved practically all of the city. The city is about 75% paved. And we also have increased population exponentially. And so when that household wastewater plus the storm water goes into those pipes that are not big enough for it, it will overload the system. And so it's all rushing down to our water treatment facility down in the Ironbound, which is not just cleaning our water, it is a regional water treatment facility. So it's cleaning New York's water, it's cleaning Elizabeth's water, it's cleaning Bayonne's water, right? This treatment facility is cleaning regional water, and so to be able to capture all that water, it's overflowing the system because it's too much for that system to handle, and so inside it's built an overflow. When it hits a certain point, it deviates from going to the water treatment facility, and instead it goes straight out into our Passaic River or the Elizabeth River, whichever river has an outflow pipe. So that's what a CSO is. That's an event. When we have a rain event, those two waters combine, they become too much for the system, and it overflows. Instead of going to a water treatment facility and being treated, it goes untreated directly into our rivers, waterways. And that's a good day, because on a bad day, it backs up into the street, or it backs up into your home and basement, and that's when you get that terrible smell that's happening. Like, what happened down there? What is that smell? That's not just rainwater, friends. Okay? And so this is obviously unacceptable situation. We need it to stop. It's also being mandated by law. The DEP and the EPA are also requiring that this be stopped. And so the city is, as I mentioned, now in year 5 of a 5-year plan to come up with a solution. Okay? Oh, love this map. So this map tells you, you know where we are. Everybody knows where we are, right? We're up in the nosebleed section. That's what I call it. I love it. It's the best part. up in the West Ward. We are MS4, right? So that is a separated sewer system. It's 4S. So we're in a separated system, but all that central area there, oh, look at that, boom. All of that central area is all combined sewer overflows. And so on a future slide, it will tell you where the outfalls are. So you see right here, this is the Passaic River. We have several of these dots that you might not be able to see, but they do exist, are outfalls that are emptying that untreated water. So CSOs also, in addition to, as I mentioned, putting this untreated water directly into our rivers, often it backs up. It doesn't even have to be a heavy rain. If that rain happens during high tide, guess what? That water's not going out. It's going to run up against the full pressure of the ocean, and it's going to back up into homes, businesses, and onto the street. You see that adorable child and his little galoshes hopping in a puddle? He is hopping in a puddle of toxic water. We do not want this to happen. The water quality and health, as I mentioned, and pollution and aquatic life. I mean, we can't use the Passaic River right now for anything, not just because of CSOs, but on top of everything else, CSOs, right? Okay. So what is the City of Newark doing? So right now, this is the process. They have done modeling and analyzing. They're currently and have been ongoing working on gathering community feedback. Then they'll be determining specific locations and costs and gathering community feedback again on those costs. So right now, we're sharing with you in collaboration with the city where we are in the process and what's going on. Ms. Lynn? So this is an example of what the city looks like, right? And so we have interceptors, regulators, all of these are very technical terms.
It's the color of the wall.
Yeah, oh, is that what it is? I'm like, what happened to the map?
No, I apologize, it's not. That's the way it looks.
It's just very like, this is like showing where all of the pipes are. It's just basically what the city looks like. There should be darker lines, but you can go to the next one. And so this is a better map showing some of these locations right here. And so this is broken up by flow, volume, how much water is going through, sort of like the quantity of volume, and frequency, how often this CSO event happens. And so I remember Sabrina had mentioned, is it Rector?
It was Clay Street. It's right there where Free Housing used to be.
Right over here. It's behind this terrible black thing, but Clay Street actually has one of the highest outfalls because there are several streets that are all rushing downhill and are basically flooding into this one outfall, and it has an exponentially higher volume in that particular area. And then frequency, that means that it happens more often that it has outfall. And so how much water depends on what's feeding it, and how often usually depends on how things are being deviated, right? So where's the water going determines how often a CSO outfall happens. So in our last meeting, we discussed all of the alternatives that the city had gone through. And we'll actually have several slides to talk about these. These are just showing what the alternatives that were evaluated are. In the last meeting, we talked about our report that was due in July of this year. We turned in our evaluation of alternatives report, and the city evaluated all of these and have determined that they will be focusing on 5 of them. We can go to the next. So a regulator modification basically is you take the pipe and you have that overflow meter, being able to raise that up or down so that you can basically turn it off. It's like turning a switch on or off. That's what the regulator modification is. And so some of these you can see it'll be very helpful, like Clay Street over here, you can't see it right here, but Roanoke Avenue. So there's some locations where it would be very helpful to have regulate that on-off switch, but for the most part, that's not going to solve our problem. So green infrastructure is actually the solution that we want to spend the most time thinking about, because that's the one that has the most community benefits. So there's a lot of money that's going to be spent over the course of the next 30 plus years on this. It's a major infrastructure, we're talking major infrastructure dollars, billions of dollars being considered. It's unfortunate we have such a small crowd here, because this affects every man, woman, and child in this city, as with regard to dollars, with regard to health, etc. And so we really need you to help be advocates, to get people to these meetings, to help spread the word, so that they can have a say in where the green infrastructure is placed, how it's placed, etc. And so the city actually examined three alternatives, three models on how they could implement green infrastructure. And one we were not necessarily a fan of. It was the a Rutgers plan, which looked at a very small amount of locations. We really like Rutgers and we like what they did. We didn't like the fact that it was used as an example, because it's not a citywide sample. And so the other alternative was using a 5% impervious area. And what that means is we have 100% of the problem, right? 100% of the area, 95% of that area is paved surface. So if we take 5% of that 95% paved surface, 95 of the roofs and concrete on there, and turn it into green infrastructure, it can help reduce our CSO volume by 7% and the frequency from anywhere from 0 to 6 overflows. So reduce how often those overflows happen. And then if we do take 10% of that area and make it green infrastructure, we can reduce our volume by 14%, nearly 15%, and somewhere between 0 and 8 overflows. And the reason that it's 0 to 8 is because the way the model works, it's not focused on one particular kind of green infrastructure. Green infrastructure could be planting a tree, it could be doing a rain garden, it could be a green roof. There's a lot of different variation in what green infrastructure really means. And so the reason that there's such a wide variation there is because it's not specific, talking about one particular kind of green infrastructure. So it really depends on what the method is that you use. All right. So again, another, this slide is talking about cost. So again, you can ignore a lot of the text. These two bullet points here are the two that we wanted to focus on. The 10% impervious cover area. You see that? The costs range from 157 million to 2.8 billion. So it says 2,000. It says this is not correct. This should be 2,833 million. It's 2.8 billion. That's a typo. Because that would be ridiculous. Like, obviously that number is insane. So this is 2.8 billion. 2.8 billion. So that's a very wide variation. I mean, they're huge numbers in any sense, right? But the difference between 157 million and 2.8 billion, again, goes back to the kind of green infrastructure that is used. So if you rip up every single sidewalk and change it into a curb bump out, that's going to be very expensive, as opposed to taking a large swath of abandoned properties, for example, and making them into grass. Taking down that structure, the roof structure, and making it grass, that's much more cost effective. So the difference there is a matter of how much disruption, the cost in labor, the cost in what other services need to be brought in. Do we need to bring in PBSC if we're ripping up the street? PSENG. Do we have to get traffic and signals involved? Is there a lot of delay? Is there a lot of businesses that won't be able to get access to their customers won't be able to get access to businesses? Are we costing the city in tax revenue? All these things need to be considered when we talk about different kinds of green infrastructure.
I was gonna say, in a practical sense, if we look at the first photo, you see that all of that hard surface, that water has to be is being controlled, and it just flows to someplace.
Yeah.
And it flows to pipes. But then you look at the second picture, and you see most of the area has been changed so that it absorbs the water. Even the places where you drive, those surfaces can absorb water if it's pervious pavement. So changing it from the hard surface to the surface that can absorb water is where you begin to stop, and get the 5% and get the 10%.
Yeah.
So that's what the green infrastructure does. It helps us to either absorb the water or slow the water down so that it doesn't get into the combined sewer system.
And also, you should keep in mind, this is all public lands. So the private property is a whole nother opportunity. And we have a lot of models for private property use. Philadelphia is a great model. They've been doing a lot of work on private property with private property owners. We're talking big lots like, universities, warehouses, etc., that have big roofs and big parking lots. But a lot of this that we're talking about here in Newark is what Newark can control. And so that's public, those are public lands. Okay, we can go to this. So storage is the other big solution that the city is looking into. And what that is just a giant tank, either above or below ground, that is going to hold those waters, and very likely they will be situated close to where the outfalls are, because a lot of them are gravity fed, so they're just going downhill towards the nearest river. And so they'll have a storage tank that will basically hold that water until there's been, the rain has stopped, obviously, and there's enough of a delay has happened so that our water treatment facility, Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission, PVSC, will be able to handle that water. And so that's the other solution that has been looked into, to be able to get us to the full, complete picture of how we can handle this problem. And so there isn't one solution. It would be great. I'm sure the engineers would love it if there was just one giant tank they could build and nobody would bother them about it. But we want to make sure that there is a multifaceted approach to this problem, right? We don't want billions of dollars to go into some underground tank that is not actually giving benefit to the people outside of that CSO reduction. And so this chart, basically the main thing is to show that the reason we can't just have a tank solution is to get to overflow frequency 0 is 100% volume reduction. And the next slide will show that it's just not practical financially. We can go to the next slide. Oh, my slides again. I can tell you where it is because I know where it is in my mind. So there's a line that exists on the slide, and it goes up very sharply here from 0 up here till we get to about 0.8, and 0.8 is about 80%. And then it starts to level off. And so to get us all the way to 100%, we're on that level off line way too long. And it just makes a bigger and bigger storage tank to be able to get to that little bit of increase. To get from 80 to 80, I think 84.6 to 90 or 100, it's too much expense. And so really we get a lot of coverage, that quick line going up to 84, and then after 84 we can handle green infrastructure or water conservation to do the rest. And so we go to that. And so CSO storage, these are not small numbers, right? And so these numbers are in the millions of dollars. Remember, our low number for green infrastructure was 157 million. So for CSO events, our raw, just the capital cost, $624 million, right? That doesn't include the operations and maintenance costs, right? The full life cycle of either the capital cost or the operation and maintenance costs. So these are not inexpensive. So mostly what they're looking at is 8 and 12 CSO events. So that means that we're reducing our CSO number from around 40 events down to either 8 or 12 using a storage tank. That's what that means. That's what they're going to focus on, is those two. So I&I is the shorthand for this, infiltration and inflow. I&I basically means that you're going to fix your leaky pipes. So right now, there's pipes that are in the ground that have cracks in them, that when it rains, water is seeping into them, or they're under a water body like at Branchford Park or at Weequahic Park that are under a lake or running through a lake that are right now, they have a crack in them, or they have some kind of inflow problem where water is getting into them and causing a backup and overflowing the system. And so the city has a plan already to be able to reduce their I&I. So that's what the inflow and infiltration is, fixing our leaky pipes. This is something that the city is already planning to do under Branchford Park and Weequahic Park. And so we're fully supporting this because it's just simple common sense. They're also cleaning the pipes. So, you know, if you have a 10-inch pipe and you have 2 inches of it all the way around are dirt and rust and grime and sand. A lot of the pollution that's in our pipes is just dirt and sand. Being able to clear that out means that now you have that full 10 inches of pipe that are available to transport water, and it will help stop the backups further upstream. So cleaning the pipes, making sure that we're not having water seeping into the pipes, those are just simple maintenance things that the city is making sure get handled. Okay? The cost for I&I, we're talking, you see, in the low millions. I mean, millions, it's still a lot of money, but it's in the low millions. And so Weequahic Park and Branchford Park are really where we're focused on these projects. And so these, as I mentioned, 2018 project costs, these are already in consideration. They're like, this obviously needs to be done. We're not gonna wait, it's not part of a future plan. They're already working on putting these plans in place. Water conservation. Basically, this is education. So some of that education that we're talking. When it rains, please do not do laundry. I know you might be like, it's laundry day. Plan in advance. Because if it's raining, especially raining heavily, if you're doing laundry, you're adding to that water that's going into that combined system. So obviously, we don't want people not to take showers, and you obviously have to flush your toilet after you use it.
You should.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it. You want to say it louder? But if it's raining, especially heavy rain, water conservation is going to be our city's best friend. Because that means that we're reducing the amount of water that's going into the system and adding to the problem. So as
Just hit the refresh page, refresh button on the side in front.
I really expected it to still be there. So the water conservation tab is important, and unfortunately, and this is something that we'll get to a little later in the presentation, we really want you to be advocates for this process. That means we want you to come down to City Hall and speak to your representatives as residents, as people who live here, as homeowners, as people who are concerned, as mothers, as daughters and sisters, and just as neighbors, right? And so to make sure this plan gets into effect, to make sure that green infrastructure is as maximum at a level as possible, they have 5 to 10%. We'd be happy with 15% coverage area. And it will not take away from the city. There's a way to do it at low cost and will actually save money in the long run. But we do want you to come down, and so part of the plan that we really want our residents to be aware of are the green infrastructure plan, but the water conservation right now does not have a dollar sign attached to it. And do you know what happens when you don't plan with the budget? Nothing. Because we're gonna say, oh, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it, but there's no budget line attached to it. When it's time to do it, oh, let's make a flyer, oh, let's do a thing, but we haven't actually put a plan in place for marketing. This is what I do, my bread and butter, and I can tell you, marketing plans are sometimes done years in advance. right? Everybody in this room can name a Geico commercial. They didn't just wake up that morning and make that happen, right? This is a plan that has been put in place. And so to make sure that water conservation, the education and community engagement is really done properly, to make sure that it's citywide, to make sure that it's on bus shelters and billboards, to make sure that every school child knows that it's happening in all of our senior buildings. Those simple things, right? It's on the internet, it's on your public access television, all of that's a marketing plan that needs to be put in place, and dollars need to be put into it so that professionals are doing it. We have excellent volunteers in this city. We have so many people who are doing things again and again and again. You see the same people. But part of the problem is that we're doing that because we're operating on a shoestring budget. The city of Newark has an opportunity with billions of dollars of infrastructure on the line to make sure that the community engagement and the community education that's being done here is done on a professional level. Right? So we're just gonna go back to the water conservation.
Hit the arrows.
The side arrow. Oh. Okay. So I can focus on the we'll get to, yes, we're also having to do a survey, just to talk about, we talked about green infrastructure in the past, but we want to get your take on it again to be able to have actionable information to give to the city of Newark. But going back to my point about having you speak down at Newark City Hall, we have your information, we'll be getting that from Ms. Andrea about how to contact you, and I think I have a lot of your contact information because you took our pledge for our green infrastructure pledge a while ago. I don't know what's going on back there. But we do want to make sure that we invite you all to come down to City Hall to be able to speak in front of the council about this issue. And so that's why we're trying to educate you on the issue so that you know what it is. We'll have talking points and various other things to be able to share with you on that day, and we'll reach out to you with that information. But the only way that we can make sure that our leaders who are supposed to be reading these plans, who are supposed to be knowledgeable about these plans, we have two people who sit on, who are on our city council who sit on PBSC boards. So they should know about these plans. Unfortunately, when we talk to them, they're not always aware about the ins and outs of these plans. And again, billions of dollars of infrastructure. Quintana and
Quintana and
Chrome.
Okay.
Are the representatives who are on PBSC board. Okay? So I have them on mine, I just don't know what the order is. I just want to get to it. Oh, there we are. Oh, look, the line showed up. I told you they were there.
We believe you.
Okay, so we can go with the last one, water conservation. So this one, disinfection, is controversial. And so disinfection, I can tell you, do you see this little illustration? Disinfection means basically they'll use a chemical called peracetic acid at the end of the line to be able to, so not literally while it's coming out of the end of the line, but because it has to sit with the water for a certain amount of time. So basically they'll make a small divot in the pipe or in that area and have a small area where they have the acid, the water sits in it for, I think it has to be a minute, somewhere between 1 and 5 minutes, and then it will go out into the river. That doesn't take care of floatables, and we all know what that means when we're talking about toilet water. And it doesn't handle the flooding issue. It doesn't handle your basement flooding or your street flooding. And so while this might be an option that takes care of the letter of the law with regard to the, I see folks are working on the surveys. If you could, yeah. Hey. So if you could just wait on the survey.
Yeah, that's probably right.
No problem. It's just, I'm just looking at the top of a lot of heads. And so, using the parasitic acid, people who are advocates of it say, oh, it's perfectly safe, et cetera, that might be debatable. But what isn't debatable is that it's not handling the community's problem of street and basement flooding, right? So we can go ahead. But this is one of the alternatives that the city is considering. And sewer separation, which in our last meetings, the residents had determined was the biggest concern. It's fine.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So what the residents had determined was one of the biggest things they wanted to do was sewer separation. Unfortunately, it's one of the most expensive. And so making all of the city basically a separated sewer system like we have here in the West Ward. That's not going to solve our problem of flooding in the streets because why? Litter, leaves, pet waste. These are still concerns in a separated sewer system because that water goes untreated directly into our waterways. So in the West Ward right now, we don't have a CSO problem, but we do have a wastewater problem when it comes to storms because of people pushing their trash, their sidewalk trash, or their leaves, or their, I love Kit Kat wrappers, they're my go-to, because I don't know, maybe I like the sound of it. They're Kit Kat wrappers into the street, they go into our storm drains, they pile up, they cause flooding, that water is toxic. We do not have a CSO problem, but we still have a water problem, a stormwater problem in those separated sewer systems, and so that water conservation effort still matters, even with sewer separation. But the city had considered it because it will solve their CSO problem, but it doesn't solve all of the community's problems. And so as community organization, Newark Dig is focused on what is going to answer the issues that are of utmost concern to the community, not just answer the EPA regulations or the DEP regulations. And as you can see, like these are ridiculously expensive, like $45 million in just one ward for just one kind of street, right? So total, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in each ward, and then potentially $1 billion. And that's just the raw capital cost. That doesn't include ongoing maintenance, and it doesn't solve our flooding problems. Okay. So, nice little video. So also, PVSC, the water treatment facility, is also working on alternatives. So they have things that they're considering to be able to make changes to their plant location, including expanding the plant and also having a bypass. So those are both things that they are considering as well. That doesn't take the onus off of Newark to be able to also make changes. Again, some of the alternatives are more effective than others. They're all very expensive. And some of those that the city is considering: green infrastructure, disinfection, and then the regulator, the gate delay. So right now, we have, as I mentioned, the survey that you all are so eager to do. And come down to the city know, it says let the city know that you care about these issues, but coming down to the city council and making your voice heard. They give you 3 minutes, and we encourage you to take your 3 minutes as a resident to talk about this and other issues, right? So right now, while we're in the process of gathering community feedback, we will be gathering again in the spring because right now they're writing the plan. This is not possible going to happen. This is not overthinking about it. This plan is being written. It should be submitted to PVSC in its draft form by the end of January. And so when we get that, we'll be able to take a look at it, find out what exactly they're deciding on, what locations, and come back to you in the spring to talk about what those specific locations are and get your feedback on them and what the green infrastructure is going to be, so that we find out how disruptive it is, how effective it is, if it meets the desire of the community, and especially the locations, and then take that back to the city so that they can put together their final report that will be due June 1st in 2020. That's the last slide, right? Yes. Do you have any questions?
I don't even know what questions to ask. It's just, it's a lot.
It is.
And it's a lot that.
That's why we've had several meetings on this to be able, because it's sometimes like drinking from a fire hose, right? So it's, I said it can be like drinking from a fire hose. The information can be overwhelming, and so that's why we want to make sure that people are informed. We had meetings in the spring. We're having meetings now again in the fall. We'll be meeting again in the spring to be able to bring you up to speed to where we are. But we need people to stay engaged, right? Our first meeting on this, we had what, 3 times this number of people? Was it, Andrea? At least our first meeting on this, we had like three times this number of people, and so we need people to stay engaged on this issue. When we come back in the spring, we don't want it to just be 2 people, right? So we want to expand that number of people, and that means getting that block to come out. That, you know, you say you are the block, like get those suckers out here, right? And so that it isn't. It absolutely isn't. But none of these are going to be easy solutions. We're talking billions of dollars of infrastructure. You know people are going to have something to say about it after it's all said and done. We want to make sure that people have something to say before it's all said and
taking
done.
their money.
How do you think it's going to be
I
paid?
understand, but when you tell them that you're taking their money.
Taxes.
How do you think?
But I understand, but until they hear that you are taking their money.
But the question is, as they're taking your money, you're given an opportunity to say how you want those money to be spent.
And I agree. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I'm just saying when you try to get that out sometimes to the community, they're not really hearing that, and by the time that they're hearing it, now that you're taking their money, now they got questions, concerns, all of that. But leading up to that,
So,
and I'm just being real.
no, I understand. I would just say that the costs that were put up there, I mean, they're a tremendous cost. So in making our choices, I wouldn't suggest that you look at the cost. I would suggest that you look at what do you think will make this a better city, right? So, I mean, a lot of the things that we talked about is very technical in terms of, yes, we can stop the water by
Right.
putting the acid in there,
Right.
or treat the water by putting the acid in. We can build another sewage treatment plant. All those things are costs, and it'll come out of pockets of the people in the city. But you still are having the opportunity to say what you would like them to do. Some of the things could help with the look of the city as well, because some of that picture we showed with a contrast between hard surface and soft surface. How would you like for the city to have more soft surfaces so that it'll have that a better look to it, a better feel to it, a more breathable air with all of it. So those are choices that, you know, as you fill these things out, you say, this is what I'd like to have.
I agree with you totally. I'm just saying, sometimes it's hard, it's very difficult. As a person who helps run a association, the Ivy Hill Neighborhood Association, it's very difficult. It is difficult
Well,
sometimes.
we want to stay positive.
We are.
And
We're
we
trying.
want to engage
We are
those who
trying.
wants to be engaged.
We are trying.
And we just gonna have to just go with the few.
We are trying.
Because they could just come up with a plan and say, this is what we're gonna do, but they're saying, what would you like for us to do? So
I don't
that's
disagree.
the thing that
I don't.
that's the thing that I just
And
say.
so that's, I mean,
I'll
part of
take
it
from this more than anything else.
is those 2 realities, right? How do we bring them together? Because right now we have the city who is, trust me, like I have been knee deep in this process. Newark is head and shoulders above other cities with regard to their community engagement. Their push to try to get that information out of the residents. Trust me, in Bayonne, they're having a much different conversation, in the fact that there is no conversation that's happening, right? And so when we have that pull from the city, we were trying to get that. How do we get the residents to engage, right? So does that mean that we hold community meetings that are regularly published? They go out to a wide mailing list, and we get 15 people to show up to, Or do we have door-to-door campaign? Where does the money for that come from? When we have, and it's winter time, right? So like, what is the incentive? So do we do fear tactics and we say, oh, your water bill is gonna go up $60, like unless you come to this meeting? That's a fear tactic. That's not true. That's not the case, right? And so we don't want to put fear in people, because then you'll have a riot. And we don't want that. We want positive engagement. We want people to be engaged. We want people to be excited about this opportunity to make our city more healthy. And so if we can't do that with the folks in the room that we have right now, right? The people engaged, the conversations that we're having, this really positive, engaging conversation. What else will it take? Because we don't want people to be upset. We don't want rain tax, any of that kind of conversation to be happening at the end of the process. I mean, I've been having these meetings,
Don't
what,
give a
since
message.
2016?
I'm just saying, I agree with you. I agree. I don't disagree.
Okay, well,
So you have the surveys.
Yes.
So you all have the surveys. Sabrina, did you want to talk about them?
Yeah, so just make sure you, please, fill it. Yes, fill it all the way out, add any comments, or even if you have a question, add that question to the survey. And these surveys will directly go to the plan to help inform and help write. So again, we are like tremendously engaged with the process, with is it H&R?
HDR
HDR
is the city's consultant, the engineering consultant.
Yes, and so we're in constant interaction with them, and so all of your responses will go directly to them, untainted. It'll be your thoughts.
And it's only effective if we can get a good number. So please talk to your neighbors. You can send them to newarkdig.org. You can give them our information so that they can reach out. They can call their water and sewer department directly. Feel free. Let them know that they're engaged on this issue. A lot of the water and sewer department folks are really busy because they're dealing with the lead service line replacement program right now that's happening. But this is also a major issue with regard to the health and safety of our city. And so we want to make sure that the residents are informed and engaged. So let me know if you have any questions. A lot of y'all have my information. Yes?
Do you have a copy of the
Health and safety?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay. The links?
Yes.
Yes.
And then also, the reason why you may not have a lot of questions is because you don't know exactly what to ask.
Thank you.
So, one way you
I'm
can
sorry.
inform is like going on the websites, like, the
Thank you.
Clean Water Action
Right, yeah.
website, they have a lot of
Right,
information.
that's what I was thinking.
And then also ANJAC's website has a lot of information.
Is that on here?
Yeah,
Yes, front and back. It's on the one that I gave you, front and back.
Is Clean Water Action on there also? The website? Or you can do a search, Clean Water Action or ANJEC,
Oh, we should put that on.
right? And they have a lot of information where you can educate yourself so that you'll know. Because it takes a lot. You have to keep
Right.
hearing this over and over.
Right.
And I'll
So
also
the other
do
thing
another. Go ahead.
the other thing I would do is if you have access to a computer, do some searches on YouTube for CSO or green infrastructure. Just do green infrastructure on YouTube. You'll get a load of information. You'll get videos that'll actually show you how they work, how they're built, what other cities are doing. There's all these cities have put out YouTube videos. New York has one, Philadelphia has one. There's upstate New York. I think the city paid a visit or had brought them down here
Yeah.
from.
That was the main one. What's the capital?
From Onondaga.
Albany. Thank you.
It wasn't, but it was Onondaga County. I mean, that was where.
Albany.
No. Like the city that came.
Yeah. So that's because
It's
of
up there,
the
it
state for
snows a
whatever
lot.
reason. But where they're doing a lot of the work is in Onondaga County, right? And because that whole county has done something, and particularly the city of Syracuse where the university is.
Syracuse, that's where. So the other,
That's what I said.
just a quick plug again for the Love Your Block program. So also another quick plug for the Love Your Block program. Natalie couldn't be here; she's at a conference right now. Who is our chief sustainability officer? But they are working on this mini grant program. You can do it as an organization or an individual or a block to be able to do some sort of block improvement. If you have an abandoned property on your block and you're like, we got to get rid of this, you can get a grant to be able to get some folks in there, get it cleaned up, make it a nice little wildflower, put a bench in there, boom. Now you have a nice meeting space in the middle of your block. So these are grants that are available to you. You can actually get them as an individual, as a block, or as an organization. So definitely pick up one of these.
Great, can we give a round of applause for Nicole? On the combined solar.
Thank you, Nicole.
So excuse me, can I just give a brief summary so we can wind down now? We're mindful of the time. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for coming out on this cold Thursday evening to have a conversation about banning plastic bags and about the combined sewer overage. Also, too, we would like to thank Councilman McCallum's staff for coming out and providing light refreshments. We would also like to thank the Mayor's West Ward aide, Kevin Waters, for coming out and participating in this event. Also, too, last but not least, on this evening, we do have a parting gift. So since we are talking about the banning of plastic bags, we do have some giveaways of reusable bags that you will be using in the near future. And to start the kickoff, each one of you get to pick one of these beautiful, colorful bags to exit the building with. Also, too, we do have 4. I'm sorry? Great, thank you. And also, too, for the 4 young people to my far right, my far left, depending on what side I'm standing, you get to take one of the notebooks as well. I don't know if I gave this to you initially, but we only have 4. So thank you all for coming out, and time for your gifts. Thank you.